Welcome to Statesboro Cooks. I'm Rebecca Falk, and today's show is all about holiday-inspired dishes. I've planned a menu using as many local ingredients as possible, and we're going to kick it off with a beautiful pastured pork tenderloin, herb roasted, with farm-raised green beans, Mama's sweet potato casserole, made from scratch buttermilk biscuits, and some sauteed cinnamon apples. This is a menu that's going to be beautiful at Christmas time, on Thanksgiving, but delicious year-round. Let's get started. These sweet potatoes have been boiling for about 25 minutes, and I just peeled them earlier and quartered them. So I'm going to take them off the heat and drain them right now. Okay, we're going to let that sit and roll over here to our beautiful pork tenderloin. We're going to season it and get that thing in the oven because it's going to take the longest to cook. My good friends at Hunter Cattle Company provided us with this pork tenderloin today. And it is pasture raised, which means that this pig grew up doing exactly what God intended it to do, roaming on Georgia grass. It's not been subject to feedlots or cages, hasn't been given any antibiotics or steroids. It's just a good old natural pork tenderloin. And we are going to adorn this beauty with some fresh rosemary and also some basil that I have right here from my basil plant. I'm going to cut this off and use a couple of stems. And I'm just going to roll this basil up and julienne it. And that's just a fancy term for saying stack the leaves and roll them up. And then we're going to just come in here and chop it just like that. I love the smell of fresh rosemary and pork together. It really works beautifully. And it smells like the holidays too, fresh pine almost. All right, so we're gonna season this pork tenderloin now with some beautiful kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. And I'm gonna come back in here with some dried oregano and just cover it. I'm just gonna eyeball this olive oil. You probably wanna do about 2 tablespoons, and this is a 2.1 pound pork tenderloin. Okay, let's come in here with our fresh herbs, and then we're gonna massage all these bad boys into this pork, and it's gonna be beautiful. Gonna give my hands a good wash. After you've been working with meat, you definitely wanna wash your hands with soap and water. So I've put this oven on 425, and gonna pop this in the oven now, leaving room for my sweet potato casserole later for about 45 minutes to an hour. So right now I'm just slicing up some red delicious apples that have been washed and refrigerated, and I'm slicing them about 1/4 of an inch thick. And we're going to saute these in some butter and then season them with cinnamon. And that's as easy as it gets. And apples and pork go together like peas and carrots. I've added 3 tablespoons of butter to this pan, and it's going to melt, and we're going to add the apples to this pan once this butter all melts down, and they're going to saute, and we're going to season them up with some cinnamon, and they're going to be delicious. Okay, I'm adding these apples into my pan to saute in some butter, and they're going to cook down. That pork tenderloin is smelling delicious, and these apples are the perfect complement to that dish. I grab my wooden spoon, give these a stir. Well, I'm a local food blogger. I blog at somekindofgood.org, and it's all about good food and good company. If y'all get a chance, you'll have to check it out. I want to tell you about our apples today and our onions, and a lot of the meat that we're cooking with has all been provided by local vendors. The Statesboro Main Street Farmers Market has been awesome. They donated the apples and the onions, as well as the sweet potatoes that we're going to use in my mama's sweet potato casserole. And like I was telling you earlier about that pastured pork tenderloin, we're also going to be cooking up some bacon for our farm-raised green beans, and the bacon came from Hunter Cattle Company as well. So if you have the chance, definitely go by and visit Hunter Cattle Company. They're about 14 miles outside of town in Brooklet, Georgia, and they're quality people. You can peel the apples if you wanted to, but I like to keep the peel on because they're nutritious that way, and also they're just kind of rustic. And I think it just looks pretty on the plate with that red pop of color. So I'm getting ready to season these up with some cinnamon. It's a beautiful fall spice. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. Just want to sprinkle it over all the apples. Stir them around a little bit. Sprinkle them some more if you feel like it. That's the beautiful thing about cooking. You can be creative, add your own personal touch. A little pinch of love is all you need. When y'all eat this tonight, you're gonna know. Look at the difference in the way it looks based on grocery store bacon. It's not treated with that red dye. This is the natural color it should be. And this bacon is the most profound meat flavor that I've ever tasted. I mean, it tastes like pig. It really does. Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna get ready to cook these green beans now. And we're gonna start by just cutting up some of this bacon. And that bacon fat flavor, we're gonna saute our onion and tomatoes in. And I'm using about 3 or 4 slices of this. It just falls apart in the package. It's that tender. I'm gonna wash my hands and then we'll keep going. Oh my gosh, look at these apples. They've been cooking on about a medium heat. You see the caramelization in that right there? It's gorgeous. Just turning the heat down to about medium low now, and we're just gonna let these simmer, and they're pretty much ready to go. This onion is a sweet Vidalia onion. Again, using Georgia products. I'm all about supporting the Georgia farmers. Anytime you can support local, it keeps the money in our community. It helps our environment. It's a lot healthier for us, and just helps everybody all the way around. Just want to give these an even dice so that they all cook up pretty evenly. All right, our cinnamon apples have cooked up, and they are just simmering now, waiting on that pork to get ready. And man alive, it's smelling good. I'm gonna check this oven and open it. Man, it smells amazing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just take this bacon up, and we're gonna add it back in later. I'm gonna drain it on some paper towels over here. And then in this fat, we're gonna add in those vegetables that we just chopped that our farmers market provided us today. The Statesboro Main Street Farmers Market happens every Saturday downtown from 9 until 12:30. And it's getting ready to close up for the season, but that doesn't mean you cannot get fresh vegetables. They have market to go year round, and you can check that out by Googling Statesboro Farmers Market. Woo, that's a good sound. Y'all hear that snap, crackle, pop? What I'm talking about. Oh yeah. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's a sound that is never sad right there. Oh my gosh. I wish I could smell once again. This smells amazing. And I'm gonna crank this heat to a little bit higher than medium. Not quite high, but medium. That's just gonna do its thing. Meanwhile, I need to get some water boiling for our green beans. What I've just done is season this water with some kosher salt. These are our green beans. They're gonna come up to a boil, and then we're gonna season up these vegetables. And when we come back, we're gonna assemble everything and get started on that sweet potato casserole. Y'all stay tuned.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of finding someone to invest in his vision? 1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Welcome back, guys. We've just seasoned up these tomatoes and onions, and they are browning up beautifully. So just stirring those around, and that's pretty much done. And now we're going to assemble this sweet potato casserole. So earlier, I cooked off these beautiful sweet potatoes from our farmer's market. I'm going to pop these back in the bowl. I got a, the least amount of dishes that you can wash at the end of this is good. So I'm using the same bowl that I boiled these sweet potatoes in. And we're going to add a cup of sugar that I've already measured out to these sweet potatoes. And now I'm adding about a tablespoon of vanilla extract. And I hear the timer. You know what that means? That means our pork is ready to check. Star of the show right here. Oh my gosh. Look at that, y'all. That is gorgeous. I'm going to leave it sitting right there, and let's get a knife and just check and see if it's done right in the middle. The way that you know that it's done is if the juices run clear in the center. Oh yeah. I think it needs a little more time. They're a little bit pink still, so that's about a 2-pounder. We're going to keep it going for about 15 more minutes. You sleep tight. All right, so we've got a cup of sugar, tablespoon of vanilla extract in our sweet potatoes. I'm getting ready to melt a half a cup of butter so we can add that in as well. I'm thinking I need my potato masher. I don't get to use this tool very much. All right. This looks delicious, y'all. Sweet potatoes are one of those things that my mother is very good at making. This dish is her sweet potato casserole, and I can tell you that it's at every holiday function that that my family has. Definitely Thanksgiving and Christmas. It wouldn't be the same without it. I got to tell you a funny story. To accommodate my daddy's health needs, my mom one year made this sweet potato casserole using a sugar substitute. And I want y'all to know we have never let her live it down. It was not near as good. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, but let's just say she's never made it again with that sugar substitute. All right, let's make this topping. So I'm putting together this topping for our sweet potato casserole now. I've just measured 1 cup of packed brown sugar. I'm gonna add in 1/3 of a cup of flour, and we're gonna add in our chopped pecans. Whoa, I'm getting a green bean facial over here. This meal is coming together, and man, it's gonna be beautiful on the plate. Whenever I plan a holiday meal, or any meal for that matter, I always try to think about the colors, the textures on the plate, because we always eat with our eyes first. And that butter is just gonna allow this topping to kind of crumb together. Man, this is gorgeous. And it's gonna go right over the top of this gorgeous orange color. And how festive is this color? Beautiful. And really everything in this dish is already cooked. The reason we're putting it in the oven is to crisp it up so this topping turns a gorgeous golden brown. It's got a crunchy bite to it with that creamy sweet potatoes. It's gonna be amazing. And this is beautiful, y'all. Just going right over the top. Man, if you don't like this, there's got to be something wrong with you. Just saying. Beautiful. And in the oven this goes at 350 for about 30 minutes. Okay, let me move this to the bottom. Because that pork tenderloin's only got a few more minutes to go, so we're gonna slide him in the bottom and add this guy on the top. And that's that. Okay, so we've just drained our green beans and I'm gonna get cleaned up. When we come back, we're gonna whip up some buttermilk biscuits and we're gonna do a holiday classic, the pumpkin spice trifle.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
You can see all those herbs we put on there earlier, the rosemary and basil, all that good olive oil has browned up. We're just gonna let it rest, and that way it keeps all those juices in there, and that meat is gonna remain moist. And I'm gonna put some tin foil over it, and it'll just rest while the other dish is complete. Okay, y'all, I'm getting ready to make my grandmother's made from scratch buttermilk biscuits. It is of utmost importance that you use White Lily self-rising unbleached flour. And I've got a secret that makes the biscuits the most fluffy, flaky biscuit you've ever put in your mouth. So let's get started. The recipe starts with 2 1/4 cups of flour. I'm just gonna stir that flour around, make sure it's good and awake. And that's the most easy thing about this dish, or these biscuits rather, is that people tend to complicate it, but it is actually only 3 ingredients. It is very easy to do. All right, y'all, this is the secret to beautiful biscuits. A box grater, cold butter. You're gonna use 2 1/4 cups of flour and then 1/4 cup of grated cold butter. I'll show you. You wanna work fast because the heat from your hands melts the butter, but grating it like this allows a flaky butter to be in every bite, and it really results in a gorgeous biscuit. You're gonna see when we pull them out of the oven. You want that flour to look crumbly like that, and all those crumbs, that's that butter. And when all the flour feels like it's incorporated, we're gonna measure out a cup of whole buttermilk. All right, that looks about right. Pull it from the sides with a fork. And it takes practicing a few times to get it. That's 1 cup of buttermilk, and I'm gonna add this in slowly. Stir it with a fork just until it comes together. This is another thing. You don't wanna overwork your biscuit dough because they will become tough. So just until, in fact, I'm gonna just finish this with the fork. Just until, y'all see that good? And that's just come together like that. Okay? Just dust your surface like that. This is so that the dough doesn't stick. And make sure you have good dough on your hands. I mean, good flour on your hands. Okay, y'all, our biscuit dough has come together, and right now I got a juice glass out of the cabinet because that's what I'm going to use to cut my biscuit dough. If you don't have a biscuit cutter, you can always use about a 2-inch round can or juice glass, whatever you have around, and make sure the rim of that glass is coated in flour as well because it'll stick too. Okay, we're going to turn this dough out onto our floured surface here. And I put my apron on so I didn't get it all over me, but even if I wear it, it's totally worth it. And y'all, this is a good point to make too. You don't want to overwork it. Pretty much just, you're going to pat it out to the thickness that you want it. And you want it about right there. All right. And I just re-dip my glass every time in the flour. And I just cut them out like so. Dip and cut. Dip and cut. Okay. And these are gonna rise up to be flaky and the perfect side of bread to go with our home-cooked, holiday-inspired meal. I'm wearing a little bit of this flour, y'all, but it's totally worth it. Every Southern girl needs to know how to make these, and man, for that matter, too. Popping those right in there. Man, that sweet potato casserole is looking good. Let's pull it out and see how it's browning up. If we need to adjust this temperature any. Oh, look at that. Man, it smells beautiful. Can y'all see that? That is gorgeous. That's gonna need a few more minutes, and we're gonna be ready to go. So I'm popping these biscuits onto the top rack right now. I had to do a little moving around. I put that sweet potato casserole on the bottom to finish up cooking. Every oven is different, but 475, 10 minutes should do the trick. Okay guys, we are finally to dessert, and what we're gonna do now is just assemble this easy pumpkin spice trifle. And I think a trifle is a gorgeous end to a meal like this because it's light, it's refreshing, it's like a cloud in your mouth almost. And it's really simple to put together. After you've cooked a big meal, you don't want to slave over a lattice pie or a 14-layer cake. You just want something sweet and satisfying, and this is it. So earlier I baked a spice cake which has been cooled, and we're going to cut that up and layer it in the bottom of this dish. And before we do that, I also fixed vanilla pudding, and it's set, and I'm going to open this can of pumpkin pie mix. It's Libby's classic brand right there. You don't want to use anything else. So let me just open this, and we're going to add this filling into our pudding with some cinnamon, about 1/3 of a teaspoon. And I'm just going to fold it. Lightly fold it all together. Just go around the sides of the bowl, kind of in an 8 motion. Look at that color. It's yellow and orange. It's gorgeous. That's all together now. And we're going to add in 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. It's going to sweeten it very nicely. So we're going to whip some fresh cream for our pumpkin spice trifle. And here's a secret. I've had this bowl in the freezer and my beaters because the colder the bowl, the faster the cream gets to whip. To this, I'm just adding a tablespoon of sugar. Going to start to thicken up. We're just going to whip it till it forms soft peaks. Oh yeah, it's thickening up now. You can always do Cool Whip if you wanted to take a shorter step, but this is better than Cool Whip. Oh yeah. See those little peaks? That's what you want. Okay, and this dish is ready to assemble. I'm just cutting this cake into little dices. It can be rough. We're just going to layer it down in the bowl. We're going to do half the cake, and then we're going to follow it with our ginger snaps for a little bit of crunch. This is beautiful, y'all. It looks so pretty when it all comes together. Make sure you get it all down on the bottom. No holes. Fill it in just right. And that's perfect. And then I have old-fashioned ginger snaps here. I'm just gonna make a pretty little layer here, right on top of our cake. All right, let's follow that with half of our pumpkin filling right over the top. Oh, look at that, it's gorgeous. Just want to push it around right so it goes to the edges. Oh yeah, maybe a little more. Beautiful. Man, it's like a pillow of a cloud. It's just gorgeous. And that's fresh as it gets right there, y'all. All right. Last layer. More cake. Last pieces. Perfect. All right, and ginger snaps. And we're gonna finish it off with our pumpkin filling. Man, look at that. That's beautiful. That just did fit, look at that. Gorgeous. Smooth out the top there. And then we're going to top it off with our fresh whipped cream. Just a garnish of gingerbread cookies so you can tell exactly what's in it. And there you have it, guys. The perfect holiday dessert, a pumpkin spice trifle. I'm gonna stick this in the fridge because it has to set up overnight, and grab the one I made last night. And then when we come back, we're gonna taste this holiday feast. You won't wanna miss it. Stick around. Okay guys, I'm pulling this pumpkin spice trifle out of the refrigerator that we made last night. Oh, it's beautiful. It's all set up. I can't wait to sink my teeth into this. Well, this is it, guys. My holiday inspired menu. Our herb roasted pork tenderloin, cinnamon apples sauteed, farm-raised green beans, Mama's sweet potato casserole, and of course Grandma's cat head buttermilk biscuits made from scratch. And not to forget the pumpkin spice trifle. Thanks again for spending time with me in the kitchen today. Special thanks to Tyson Davis and the Multimedia Communications team at Georgia Southern University, Statesboro Main Street Farmers Market, and my friends at Hunter Cattle Company. Hope y'all will enjoy these dishes, eat up, and remember, it's always going to be some kind of good when you're cooking like this. Yeah. No, of course not. This freaking mini oven. All right, I'm gonna just place this on the bottom. All right, y'all, we're gonna move this bad boy over just a touch. See if we can fit this casserole in there. Of course we can't. Okay.